Yeah, it seems we're starting a little bit early because some unannounced thing which I need to do has came up. So I need to start early so I can finish early. But I'll do my best to give you guys the best stream ever. Just like Star Wars is trying to give us the best Star Wars ever. I don't know if you're keeping up with the news, but yeah, apparently the key to Star Wars success is Rey. That's what came up on my desk this morning, and I'm like, did they open the mental asylum? Because like at this point, you can't really say that Star Wars is like a fringe, niche thing. Like, because it used to be when I grew up, if you started talking about Star Wars, like it was a high chance that people didn't know what the fuck you're talking about. I mean, they may have heard of Star Wars, but they didn't see the movies, right? Like when I grew up, at least in my country, like it wasn't something that was very known outside of the geek circles, let's call them like this, right? So now it's not the case. Now everyone knows about Star Wars. Now everyone knows what Disney did to Star Wars. So if you think that the key to Star Wars is Rey, then your mind, okay, like what goes into your head is more important than reality. And we used to call that delusion. Like if you're a delusional person, you need medical assistance. Like you're a person that's suffering from mental issues and you need to be placed under a ward so that people can treat you. So when I see people placed into a position of power that are mental, it makes me wonder, why do I want to see their production? Like what if their mental illness gets transmitted to me? Because I don't know how it works. Like doctors don't know how it works either. Like we haven't really figured out how the human brain is like. So I'm definitely worried. Like they used to do this during communism. They would say, okay, this person is insane. And they wrote these books against communism. So do not read them, because if you read them, you can be insane as well. And we will lock you up as well. So it was like kind of this thing, right? Like it's a person that's mentally ill. Like just do not touch their works. And it's how I view Disney now. Like if they keep putting people that are mentally ill in charge of important productions, and they're like, okay, no, actually the product is perfect the way it is. It's the customers that are wrong, right? So instead of tinkering with the product, instead of trying to make something watchable, we're actually going to tinker with the audience. Like we're going to try to change and manipulate the audience into liking the shit that we're putting out. And like, I'm sorry, but that is insane. Okay? Like you are a person that is absolutely insane. It's not even like the definition of insanity. It's just like something else entirely that Disney has discovered. Anyway, right. It's a little bit early. So like that was the first thing that came up on my desk. The second one is CNN. Now I understand, okay, if you're hosting an important debate between two politicians, it is important to make sure that the people organizing the debate, they get compensated, because like no one wants to work for free. And obviously, paying the staff, paying all of the production team, paying for the studio itself, paying the electricity bills, like all of this costs money. Like I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't have the finances to organize a presidential debate, right? Like probably none of you guys would either. So it makes sense that they would get remuneration from it. However, the reason that you even can host a presidential debate, the reason that you do have audience, is because of the nature of the thing, right? Like it's a political event. Going out of your way in order to threaten people that you are going to DMCA them if they show any footage or any audio from the debates is beyond the pale. Like, this is not a blockbuster movie that we're talking about. This is like the presidential debates of the United States of America. People should be able to have it on record, right? Now again, it's not a thing of legality. Although it probably is, like, legally speaking, they still don't have the right to DMCA because of fair use. So, like, if someone was to take the live stream and then upload it on their channel, not modifying it or adding very little content to it, then yeah, that would be DMCA-able. But what they are doing is they told Facebook and YouTube, and apparently YouTube and Facebook is going along with this, that if anyone has any footage of the debate, they are going to sue. And it's like, okay, you can sue a bologna sandwich, but if someone actually offers commentary or transformative content, that is fair use, and CNN can go fuck itself. So basically what's going to happen, is it echo? No, there can't be echo. Like, please tell me there is no echo. There's no echo. Why are you trolling me? Fuck off. So basically, what's actually happening is that CNN is using its power of abuse in order to get the social media to ban people. So like, I've seen other individuals going like, oh, so why don't you stream it anyway? It's like, okay, I'll tell you what happens if anyone streams it, right? The moment they stream it, the stream gets taken down and they get one strike on their channel. Now, they can appeal, right? And if they don't, they get banned permanently. Now, if someone gets banned from YouTube, do people care? Not so much. I mean, they may care a little bit in the beginning, but like, yeah, that's why people want streaming. No, the only thing that you can do against this is if you're a rich person, if you're like Elon Musk, and you can put your platform and you can say, yeah, people can stream here and CNN can fuck off. Like, I'm not going to ban the presidential debates. So that's one thing. And the other thing that you can do, I guess, is like if you're very rich like Elon Musk and CNN, files a copyright claim against you, you can countersue. Because when you file it, you file it under penalty of perjury that you believe that the content is not transformative and it's not fair use. So there you go. CNN wouldn't exist if it never got contract for airports around the world. Yeah. I don't know if CNN would exist or wouldn't because of that, but like a lot of their viewership, especially when it comes to the mainstream media, a lot of the people that watch come from airports, bars, and other places. Like everywhere there's a TV, like they usually put like something like CNN because it's not offensive. Even though they once actually shown gay pornography, like I don't know if people remember that, but I think it was like 2016 or 2014 when I don't even know how it happened, and I don't know why it was gay, but it was definitely pornography, and it was like during the middle of the night. They aired it for like 30 minutes until someone figured it out, and they had to stop it, so yeah. Serious platforms like Rumble won't ban it. Like, again, I don't know what deal YouTube and CNN has. Like, from what I gather, like there was the apocalypse when a lot of the established, the legacy media went after YouTube. And after that, they had a deal with the legacy media. Because what was happening was like legacy media was dying. Like no one was watching CNN. No one was watching Fox News. Everyone was watching YouTubers. And you could see on the graphs, like literally, there were channels that were exploding in popularity. I mean, the Young Turks, for instance, Steven Crowder, many others. Alex Jones was at the time. So like you had YouTubers like massively growing in reach. And social media just losing ratings nonstop. Sorry, legacy media losing ratings nonstop. So what happens is like there's this deal that goes on between YouTube and social media, and the legacy media on the other hand, and you get to see how all of a sudden legacy media is getting boosted by the algorithm, and YouTube is like really upfront about it. It's like, yeah, we consider them to be authoritative sources. So anything that the legacy media says, you're going to get it on your search results. And they suppressed anyone that wasn't affiliated with corporations, and they promoted corporations. So what ends up happening is like now the media regains their traction, right? Like they managed to regain the viewership that they lost. So yeah, it's like nobody watches it, but like if you Google some event, like you Google something from Ukraine, you're only going to get the legacy media take on it. Anyway, right. I think we're going to be talking about the Ukraine. Huh? But why is everyone calling it the Ukraine? I don't know. Did you ever see it being pronounced differently than the Ukraine? Right? It's the Ukraine. Anyway. Right, sorry. It's just that I needed to get the websites in order. I should have done it before I started, but now it's in order, so now we can talk. Right, so the Ukraine. Apparently, there are peace talks in the making. Right, so I woke up to this. And by the way, those who follow me on Twitter, like I predicted this the moment North Korea said that they're going to send people fighting in the Ukraine. And I was like, okay, well, it's kind of done at this point. So basically the reason that I said this is that, and those of you that follow me know my assessment, the type of war that was going on in Ukraine was a war of attrition, right? Like there's different types of wars. That there can be wars with strategic objectives, like, occupy this place or take down the government, stuff like that. No, in Ukraine it's like of attrition, right? Like Russia is not interested in destroying Ukraine's infrastructure more than it has to because it actually wants to rule over the land, right? Because like a lot of people were like, oh, Russia is showing a lot of restraint, and it's like, no, it's not about restraint. It's not like they're compassionate, right? Like if this was Poland, it would have been a different thing. It wasn't that they were compassionate and caring and really concerned about the cost of human life. No, they just wanted to rule over Ukraine, right? Like they want the resources, they want the people, they want all that. So that's why they didn't attack the infrastructure, which means that it's a war of attrition. Now, in a war of attrition, there's two things that decide which is the victor. Like unless something like extreme happens, like you have like a absolute genius of a military strategist, like a one in a lifetime type of general that comes up with a plan, and or the enemy is monumentally stupid, which is what happened with Russia at the beginning of the war by invading during mud season, right? Like unless something like that happens, what decides a war of attrition is number one, artillery, right? So artillery functions on shells, and the person that has the most shells is going to have an advantage. It's not like a strategy game, it's not like Age of Empires where you have infinite arrows and shit. Like in real life combat, logistics and ammunition is very important. So like the first thing that matters is the ammunition supply, right, of artillery. The second thing that matters is the number of people fighting. So when you look at the map, you notice that, okay, well, Ukraine is quite a big nation. I mean, it's not a small nation. Even though like a lot of it is just dirt and villages, it's quite a significantly big nation. But Russia is even bigger, right? So like the strategic advantage between Russia and Ukraine was already decided at the beginning of the war. The second one is the artillery. Like how many ammunition does one side or the other have? Well, the thing is, in the West, after the end of World War II, most of the manufacturing for artillery stopped. And this is because like they moved to different things. But also because like they didn't think that there is going to be a significant threat in the future worthy of having like a lot of artillery, right? Meanwhile, that's not what happened in Russia. Like a lot of the artillery from the Soviet era, it was still intact, and they still kept producing it. And they also had a deal with North Korea for artillery. So they got like a lot of ammunition from North Korea. They managed to now get manpower from North Korea. Now the Americans actually went around the world and they got all the artillery they could for Ukraine, which was quite significant in number. But again, it wasn't enough. And you can throw as much money as you want. If the actual shells aren't there, if the actual shells aren't produced, you're at a disadvantage. However, lately, we do notice that there is an increase of artillery. Like, a lot of countries, a lot of nations are starting to fabricate artillery en masse, probably because of what's happening in Ukraine and also probably of the situation in Israel. I think, like, this is what Hamas actually thought when they decided to do their terrorist attack. They probably thought, like, okay, well, they're running low on artillery, so that was the time. But no, it didn't work out for them. But yeah, like if North Korea was to send troops, now you have Russia with an artillery advantage, and on top of that, it's got also more manpower. The only like difficulty that Russia had were the choke points. I mean, you do have the numbers, but you gotta put them into the battlefield. Like anyone that plays strategy games probably knows how frustrating it is when you have like massive armies, but like they gotta go through choke points. And like when you go through the choke points, that's when you're vulnerable. So it's probably what happened at the beginning of the war. But yeah, so now it seemed like a forever war. But like with the current changes on the battlefield, with Russia getting more artillery, with them being able to upgrade their bombs into smart bombs. So like there's a lot of Soviet era type of weaponry that they're upgrading. It looks like, yeah, it's understandable why Zelensky would say that he wants peace talks. Now he does say that, peace talks will happen if Russia leaves. This is for the public, right? Like, this is what you say to save public face. Because it's probable that they will have, like, some sort of deal where Zelensky is able to save public space and Russia gets the fuck out of the territories that it didn't occupy, because believe it or not, like the war is not really going well for the Russians as well. What I'm saying is like, yeah, sure, I mean, you can get your Pyrrhic victory if you want, but you're fighting against Ukraine, though. You know, like they're not fighting against a force that most people would say, oh, this is something to be reckoned with, right? They're fighting against Ukraine, and even with Ukraine getting help from NATO and from other, you're still fighting against Ukraine, dude. Like, according to Russian intelligence, this should have been done in like 2 or 3 days. I mean, for those of you who don't remember, they had this pre-plan that on a Russian newspaper, they actually announced victory 2 days after the fact. Like they genuinely thought that it's going to be like Crimea, that they're going to go in, people are going to surrender, there's going to be no resistance whatsoever, and they were monumentally wrong. And then they also had like a little bit of an embarrassment. I think like one of their flagships was being taken down. And I want to like be a fly on the wall on that conversation, right? Because like that thing was supposed to shoot down any incoming missiles and drones. And the Ukrainians were probably like, okay, well, launch a couple of rockets at them, you know, just to see what happens. And it's like, sir, direct hit. It's like, what do you mean direct hit? Like, yeah, no, we actually hit it. Yeah, it's sinking. Like, no fucking way. Can you double check? Yeah. Well, just tell the Americans then. And then they tell the Americans, and the Americans are probably also like, what? No fucking way. It's like, yeah, it was like a very, very embarrassing start for the conflict to the Russians. And even if you don't get peace talks now, it's still going to be a very slow and gradual affair, which is why they expect that the Russians do want to negotiate. I think like the negotiation will be that the territories that are currently occupied will remain to the Russians, and they will leave everything else alone. For the time being, at least. So, hi V, hope your day is going good. Did Zelensky found out his body well is drying up, or higher ups getting tired of him? No, I think it's like North Korea being involved, honestly. It looks like more and more bad, and like the thing with the Ukrainians, right? So they expected it's going to be like a Crimea, but I actually do talk with Ukrainians, and I actually do speak with people on the ground, and I also spoke with refugees and stuff. And I said this on my stream before. There have been many years in which Ukrainians are looking towards the European Union, right? So like a lot of them, especially from Eastern Ukraine, they go and they work in Poland. So like they work in Poland during the summer, and then they come home during the winter. And, you know, they notice the massive level of difference between Poland and Ukraine. And it's like, well, why the fuck can't we have this? You know, like they're going in Poland and they're using their jobs and their expertise there. And it's like, well, why can't we have this back home? Like why exactly is it? And then as they travel more to the east, and they look at Russia, you know, like Russia is kind of like two nations. Like you got your Moscow, and you got like a couple of other cities that are really good, and you know, like these are the ones that you see on social media most of the time. And they look like very similar to Western European cities, right? Like, in some cases they even look better. I mean, Tucker Carlson was in awe of the subway in Moscow, right? So like, no, they do have like certain cities where the quality of life is really high. But then you have rural Russia, and rural Russia is a shithole. Like, rural Russia is very, very difficult to comprehend. You know, like, there's villages that have no water, they still shit in a PV, they have no electricity, they have, like, no supermarkets, no access to amenities. So, many people were like, well, we don't want that here. You know, like, and this is why you actually manage to get people to fight, because even the Americans expected that this is going to be like a guerrilla fight, you know, like it's going to be like groups of insurrectionists or shit, and it's not going to be an actual war. But when they saw that the Ukrainians are actually going to war, and they're actually managing to stand off against the Russians, then they were like, okay, well, I guess we can invest more money into this. From the American side, I mean, you gotta understand why they're doing it. It's obviously like not to prevent democracy or whatever. The Americans don't want China to become too powerful, right? Especially when it comes to Taiwan. It's unlikely that China is going to invade Taiwan. But China does want to control the China Sea, right? Like they want to basically be able to set tariffs to every single boat that goes into the China Sea. And from the American perspective, it's like, okay, if you're an empire and you can't control your shipping lanes, what the fuck are you doing? So they don't want that, right? So the last thing they want is a Chinese-Russian alliance. And they're trying to maintain the hegemony by basically thinking that if they can drain Russia financially, if they can cause attrition to Russia, if they can prolong this, then they win the long term when it comes with China, right? Like they get Russia to be bogged down in Ukraine so that it can't help China if anything happens in the China Sea. So that's pretty much how I view it, like strategically. From the American point of view, I think like they want the war to drag on as much as possible. I don't think they want the winner. Like they don't want Russia to win, and I don't think like they would be happy with Ukraine winning either. Like they just wanted this to go on and on and on, and they probably still do. Again, this is my take on it. Like this is my hypothesis on what's going on. I don't think they want a clear victory. They just want this to last as much as possible. The United States pushed Russia and China closer together. I think it would have happened anyway. I mean, we noticed like the BRICS thing, like that was the path that the thing was going. Whether or not this accelerated, I don't think it matters. I think like Russia and China would have been together regardless. So that's pretty much how it goes. If Russia does not cripple Ukraine by taking Odessa, that peace will just be a ceasefire. Probably Odessa is a very, very difficult city to take. I'm not an expert in in urban warfare, but from what I understand, it's like a very fortified city. It's one of the most difficult ones to take. So it's probably unlikely that the Russians will take it. It's not really like the U.S. government is doing its damnedest to drive Russia into China's arms. Like I actually listened to not a documentary, an interview with Nixon. And Nixon explains why the United States and China started working together back in the Cold War. And it was like working together as in openly working together. But they started having like deals and things behind back doors, and why why China and the United States got closer to each other is because during the Cold War, China noticed that the Soviet Union was growing in power, and it didn't like that. So, like, who is the only thing that can stand up against the Soviet Union? And the answer was the United States, right? So even though China was a communist nation and the US was a capitalist nation, they did try to put some of their differences aside in order to collaborate. And now it's the opposite, right? Like, now China is looking like, okay, well, who's the strongest? And it's like, okay, it's the United States. Like, well, maybe we can work more with Russia. So, like, this is how nations think. It's like, okay, who's the strongest one? And if I'm the second strongest, like, what do I need to do in order to make sure that I'm not getting bullied? It's pretty much how international politics work. So in the event of, like, Russia and China working together, it was inevitable. Like, regardless of what the United States would have done, the situation would still be the same. But take into account that China is screwing over Russia as well. Like, for instance, Russia needed processors because the embargoes actually hurt them when it comes to high tech, right? So, like, when it comes to gaining processors, they had difficulty. So the only place they could get it from was China. And the fault rate of processors that Russia used to have was like around 8%. And the ones they got from China was close to 50%. So you can definitely tell that China was giving them like the worst processors they have just to empty the stock, because it's like, okay, well, this is how we can do business. Like, we get rid of the processors that we don't need, and we also can say, well, we did our best in order to, you know, not help them too much. And Russia is forced to pay for it. Like, it doesn't have any other choice. It's like, okay, well, where are you going to get processors from if not from China? The ideological dispute between the Soviet Union and China wanted nuclear war with the West, and the Soviet Union refused to China. Oh, these are like usually things for the mainstream public. Like, these aren't what actually sets international policy. Like, disputes like this are good for the newspapers. They're good for, you know, like fear mongering and stuff. But like, usually politicians don't think that way. Politicians are a lot more pragmatic. Not necessarily like the average politician, like the AOC or whatever. But like the people that actually do get to set the policy when it comes to international affairs. the deep state, as people call it. It's like, every nation has something like this, which is basically, and you will notice that the international relationships that a nation has rarely changes, right? So like the way it views the nations around it, it's usually pretty much constant regardless of who gets in power, whether it's left-leaning people or right-leaning people. They kind of have like the same opinions on international affairs. And this is because it's, usually the bureaucrats and the army that actually makes these decisions, the deep state, if you will. Prosgonian is probably isekai right now. He's with elves and he's trying to save a magical kingdom. The Black Sea Fleet has all been forced out of Crimea. I haven't really followed like the actual map of the conflict for a while. All I know is that it's not going well for Ukraine. Right, so the reason that I started the stream early. Actually, I'm still not allowed to say. Well, I think I can say something though. We are planning the new D&D type game, and we are going to do a test run. So I was announced 30 minutes in advance. And yeah, like in 40 minutes, I will have to go and see if we can get it running, because we're testing the system, so it is what it is. Alright, was checking my DMs since I already opened Discord. Dr. Disrespect. Dr. Disrespect, he just won't go away from my timeline. Every single time I open Twitter, people are like, Dr. Disrespect this, Dr. Disrespect that. And it's like, the most important thing is like, how do you feel about it? Like this is like the American culture, right? What are your opinions on the issue? And if your opinions don't align 100% with what you're supposed to say, then you're just as bad as Dr. Disrespect, and everything that happens to him, you deserve it as well. I will say this, though. If you had a button, and you would make it so that literally every single streamer, every single one, okay, that has ever flirted with a person between the age of 16 and 18, okay, no lower than 16, just like 16 and 18, if they ever flirted, even once, if they would get canceled, I think like half of Twitch would be gone. And I know this because like some of the motherfuckers were married with 16-year-old girls. Like openly so, in an open relationship, right? Like just marriage certificate and everything. I know a couple, and I'm pretty sure you guys do too, right? And a lot of women would get in trouble as well. Now, here's the thing. Why it's outrageous, in my opinion, what Dr. Disrespect was doing, is that he was, what, like 40-year-old man married with kids? Right? Like, that is the outrageous thing. Like you're ruining... Well, and it's outrageous for the woman as well. Like, she's ruining not just his family, but the lives of his children and the life of his wife and shit. But, like, that is outrageous, right? But if you wanna stick to your guns, I mean, every single streamer that had ever flirted, even once, with a person that's between 16 and 18, that they should be canceled, right? So, like, a lot of ladies, I know that they were flirting online. Like, they were fucking flirting, like, on the chat, like, when the thing was online. I didn't record it, because I didn't even think it would be brought up. But, like, they were making fun of the fact, oh, yeah, this guy is 17, oh, ho, ho, you know. It's like... And by the way, I need to mention, like, this was, like, 5 years ago. It was kind of like a different culture. But a lot of European streamers do it as well, because in Europe it's different, like the age of consent is different, so they don't view themselves as doing something wrong. But again, like, if you have a person that were to go on Twitch, and they would, like, watch streams from, like, 5 years ago, especially from European streamers, I mean, you'd get a lot of canceled material, you know? It's just... Yeah, yeah, it's like just because it's legal doesn't mean it's perverted. But like the thing is, like what I found it immoral is that he is married with children. Like that was the problem that I had with the issue. Because from what I gather, like nothing illegal was done, right? So like the state in which he was in, I assume that the age of consent is within like whatever that person won the stream was. So like legally, yeah, like legally fine, but like morally, dude, you're a guy with kids. What are you doing? But you know, it is what it is because I seen a lot of people weighing in on the issue, and it's like, are you sure you don't have skeletons in your closet? Because I've been watching your stream for a while, and I don't know. Like I haven't, I don't even know if you can clip stuff on Twitch because they don't actually save the streams, right? Like they get deleted after a while, so it's not like you can save the stuff. But I wish I did. I wish I did, because I know a couple of streamers that were flirting with minors from the super chats, and there were also others that were married, like openly so. It's like, yeah, my wife is 16. I'm like, okay, I mean, if it's legal. But yeah, there is no minimal age of marriage in about 20 U.S. states. I see. I don't know the legislation in the U.S. I know the legislation here. Right, so it's different here, but this is what I wanted to say. Is I personally think that what Dr. Disrespect did is immoral, but I also see like a lot of other immoral people going out and being like, oh, and it's like, motherfucker, what were you doing 4 years ago? Although with Dr. Disrespect, what's interesting is that more stuff is coming out now. There is this transgender individual which Dr. Disrespect was flirting with. It's like, Doctor, what are you doing? What are you doing, Doctor? Because this is like what I opened my page to. Yeah, like this morning I wake up and I see the doctor, and I'm like, what is the doctor doing? Like what is it now? Have there more issues came out? No, apparently this individual, which is transgender, was talking with the doctor, right? And this is in 2017, and he was exploiting me, says the trans person. I didn't really see it like this, but it seemed more like a mutual agreement. But the trans person was edging towards the prospect of a partnership in exchange for some cam shows. And after the trans person gave the cam shows, the trans person got blocked. I don't think that's exploitation, though. But it doesn't really help the case of the man who's like, well, I you know, like, I don't think a man can become a woman, and yet you know. Yeah. It is what it is. Like this is getting interesting. It's turning into another Me Too, right? Like if you guys watched some of the Me Too that went down on Twitch, they all seem to follow a very interesting pattern. And the pattern was like this: the first person would come up, and they would have like some sort of proof, right? Like they would either have some logs, or they'd have like some witness, someone that can collaborate. But it was like a person that had some truth to it. And after that person came in, like many other people would come out, but they would have either no proof or what they were claiming wasn't illegal. So in the chat that I can see with this transgender person, Dr. Disrespect was basically wanting to see the hot stuff. And the trans person is like, can you get me a partnership? And Dr. Disrespect goes like, I can try, but right now they're not interested. They only want people that are playing all the hot games, and they want blah, blah, blah. So it's not really possible. So basically, like, he's disclosing, it's like, look, I can't really give you what you want, right? And then the person gives the videos, and after that they get blocked. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't really see anything illegal happening there. I don't even know if it's immoral, besides the fact that he is married, right? But like, if we were to analyze this from the perspective, like, this is just like a conversation in the ether, and we don't know anything else about these two people, right? And and they're both adults. They're both of the age of consent. and one person asks the other, hey, can you give me some nudes? And the other person goes like, yeah, I can, but like, can you help me out with this? And the other person goes like, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you out with that, but I would still like the nudes. Like, the moment you gave the nudes, that's it. It's like, there is no immoral thing. Like, you consented to that, right? Like, you gave them willingly. There were no strings attached. Like, you didn't, like, the man was up front that he's not going to be able to help you with it. So I don't see a problem. But this is exactly how Me Too went, right? Like, you had a person coming up with some claims that were verifiable and they had evidence attached. But then the other people that would walk forth, they didn't necessarily, or stuff that they would report on wasn't even illegal. Like, there was this girl trying to meet Angry Joe, and she was basically saying, oh yeah, he invited me to his hotel, and I said no, and he was upset. And I'm like, okay, and... like, where's the problem? I was in an elevator, and he asked me if I wanted a cup of coffee. And I'm like, and? Like, okay, but, like, where are you going with this? Like... Why buy the cow when you can have the milk for free? I don't know. Like, yeah, I will say this. I don't think Dr. Disrespect is a role model. I hope my son doesn't end up like him. Although, I don't know. Maybe I do. It's kind of hard to say because, like, he's a millionaire, right? So, do I want my son to be a millionaire but with baggage attached? Woof, like, that's kind of difficult. Like, assuming you can't separate the two, right? It's either your son becomes a millionaire, but he's also a womanizer. And he slips or allows people to slip into his DMs. I don't know. It's kind of hard. Why do we have to suffer from other people's personal drama? It's called celebrity gossip. It has been a thing since, holy shit, I don't know. At least we don't have paparazzis anymore, right? At least Dr. Disrespect doesn't have to find some soy boy in his vegetable garden trying to take pictures of him as he walks out the door with his morning coffee picking up the newspaper. Because that actually used to happen when I was young, right? Like, celebrities used to have, like, all these paparazzis just in trees, in various places, just trying to take a photo of them and then sell that photo for money. It's like, can you imagine? Holy shit. Now you just have people, you have, like, the offense archaeologists that will open up your streams from, like, 7 years ago and go through them. Or you have, like, people that you flirted 7 years ago coming up. It's like, yeah, so, like, he asked for my nudes, but, like, I just wanted a Twitch partnership, and he couldn't help me with that. It's so boring and completely useless. Yeah, but, like, see, the conversation itself is boring, I agree. But then you get to have anger issues towards other people on the internet, right? Like, if people don't think the same way as you do, or if they have different opinions, now you can attack them over the internet. And it's fun. It's what social media is about, right? Like, if someone comes up and goes like, you know what, the quartering came out, Dr. Disrespect posed that bizarre apology, and the quartering is like firm handshake. I mean, the quartering, you know, like, now he's got people hating him for that. It's like, well, he didn't do anything wrong, by the way. Like, the quartering wasn't the one caught texting minors with, as was said, it's like, what, conversation that leads into the inappropriate, right? Like, the quartering didn't do that. But because of the firm handshake, it's almost as bad as if he did. In fact, no, you know what? You can't even consider that he did. So that's what it's about. You know, it's not about the gossip itself. It's not about what Dr. Disrespect did. No, it's like, how do you think about it? Like, tell me what you think about it so I can know if I get to be angry at you or not. Let's remember CNN threatened to dox a dude for a meme that rustled their jimmies and forced them to apologize. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I love Jeremy, but he's taking L's left and right. You know, like, the thing is, when you're a big person on the internet, and by big, I mean you got 1 million subscribers, right? Like, once you get 1 million subscribers, you become a celebrity. I mean, fuck, you know, 1 million subscribers. Dude, that's, like, bigger than the size of a small town. You got 1 million subs. Okay, now, you're going to get haters. And if you're controversial, you're going to get more haters. What do haters do? Well, they're going to dig up the past. They're going to watch every single minute of footage that you placed on the internet, and they're going to find something that may be controversial, or that if taken out of context, or sometimes even within context, it looks really bad, right? And the reason it looks bad is that when you go on the internet and you start spamming your mouth in front of a microphone, eventually you're going to say some shit. Whether you believe that shit or not, maybe it's like due to the nature of the conversation, maybe you didn't even think about it that much, you didn't rumigate it, but you're going to say it nevertheless. And the problem is, like, once you say it, it's out there, it's etched in blood, and it's up for the offense archaeologists to find it. And when they find it, they show it to the public, and it's like, oh my god, how can you stand by this? Right? Pretty much like that. It's like, I don't think like there is a single content creator that doesn't have skeletons in their closet. I mean, look at Sargon, right? Look at Sargon. Like, he's having a conversation with Justicar, I think it was, right? He was a YouTuber, Justicar, and he basically said that he got... So Justicar talks about his own personal life, and he says that when he was a kid, he got molested, but he liked it. Right? So that's what Justicar says. Now, maybe this is his way of coping with the drama, you know? Like maybe he just doesn't want to see himself as a victim. But you have, like, this person in front of you, and they're saying, okay, this happened to me, and I was fine with it, right? So, what do you say to that? Like, what can you possibly say to that? And you have to say it right there and then, right? You don't have time to think about it. You're on a live stream. You gotta say some shit. You know, and Sargon says, oh, well, I guess it depends on the child, but... You know, the age of consent is still the age of consent, because we can't, you know, we gotta assume that all children need to be protected. And even if, like, there are kids like you, others aren't, so, like, we can't differentiate, so therefore we cast a blanket wide protection, you know. But people clip that out of context, right? They didn't allow the other side of the explanation. It's like, oh, well, it depends on the child. And when he said that, you show it to someone and it looks bad, right? And you're asking to someone, it's like, oh, what do you think of this? And if you say, oh, well, I still support Sargon. So you too think that it depends on... Right? Like this is how the internet is made. This is how social media functions. So it's why I'm not really surprised that Jeremy has haters. And pretty much every single content creator that has, like, over 1 billion subs is going to have haters. I recently thought about the Justicar. He made good videos before the incident. What incident? I have no idea what we're talking about. Like, I used to follow him back in the Gamergate era. I remember, like, he did make some videos about feminism, but, like, I don't know what incident. I just stopped following him before the drama. Yeah, it was stupid of Sargon to say. But again, like, when you're a content creator and you have, like, thousands of hours of footage online, the chance of not saying something stupid ever is impossible. Like, there is going to be something that you say which is cringe. And that's all it's needed for an offense archaeologist to take it, put it out of context, and start showing it around. He should have said depends on the teenager. No, I think it would have been bad as well. There's nothing you can really say. But, like, again, if you're in front of a victim of sexual abuse, and that's the way that they internalize it, by saying, well, I actually had no problem with it, right? Like, they don't want to be viewed as a victim. I mean, if you go and you're like, no, actually, you're a victim. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, you definitely been a blah, blah, blah. If you go like that, then people will hate you because you're insensitive and you're a prick. Right? So, like, no matter what you do when you're placed into that position, I think, like, the only thing you can do is, like, can we move on? I'm not comfortable with this topic anymore. I remember Jordan Peterson was terrified of exactly that. Yeah, I mean, Jordan Peterson was, and still is, impressive for being able to talk with people that are aggressive towards him and they know woke tactics, but he says it in a way that he navigates the political correctness labyrinth perfectly. So he's not getting into any trouble, even though, like, the people that he's talking with are definitely fishing for him to say something wrong. I'm still waiting to see what happened with Justicar, but, like, the chat is silent on it. Troll persona, that's new. I used to have this for a long time now. It's done by a Blizzard artist. This is why I even took the persona. It's because I had the Blizzard artist that I helped find a new job opportunity, a new career, and yeah, he gave me as a gift one of the characters that he drew and never used in any game. So I had to change it a bit so that it doesn't look similar to what he had, and yeah, now I have this. It was either this or the Night Elf, but like the Night Elf would probably gotten in problems with copyright issues. So yeah. I don't even know who Justicott is. It was a famous YouTuber back in the day. I mean, not very famous. I think he had 50,000 viewers or something like that. And he was making content against feminism. But like people say that there was some drama with him. It wouldn't surprise me. I just stopped watching him after a while because I was making my own content and I actually knew about all the things he was talking, so. It's a great VTuber model. Well, I think I want it to be different than the anime avatars. Like nothing is more cringe than a man using a female VTuber avatar. I find that cringe. I know what they're trying to do, but it's just not for me, you know? Yeah, niche micro celebrity is a really great way to call it, yeah. Most people in college aren't mature enough to engage in sexual activities. I think we actually have what is it? Juliet laws, right? Like here in Romania, I think it's like 16, 5 years age difference. Yeah. Do you find Gibbs to be cringe? I haven't seen his videos, so I can't say. Why, is he using a... Oh yeah, he is using a female... Well, it is what it is, I guess. Yeah, Rev actually, I think... I don't know why, but like his voice with the avatar doesn't cause the disconnect as much. I think it's because like he doesn't use the avatar of like a anime girl with big fat tits, you know? And he doesn't try to do the ooh shit. But still, even that, yeah, it's still cringe. No, it's still cringe. Like, you need to have a male avatar if you're a male. It's just my take. Yeah, tits are nice to look at, but not when you hear a male voice coming from the monitor, you know? I just... It breaks it for me. What's next? 30 plus to have sex? No. Like, look. I will tell you. Okay, I'll tell you what I think is happening with America. I will tell you. Most of this shit comes from America. Like, I have seen on Twitter right now in the Anglosphere that if both parties are adults, right? So like they're both consenting adults and they have a relationship, but the age is too high, then you'll have like a lot of chubby women on Twitter calling the guy a pedophile. Like there's no onus on the girl, right? Like the woman that's also an adult, and she is with the guy, who's also an adult. People are attacking the guy, right? What I think is happening is that what is the purpose of sex? Like the purpose of sex used to be for procreation, right? Like pleasure is also a purpose, but our society used to have rules and laws in order to protect. I suppose it's like also women, but the family unit basically, right? So you would have sex by getting married. So you would get married, and once you were married, you'd start a household. It wasn't just to have kids, but it was like to go through life together, right? Like men need companionship and women need companionship because together they form a whole. So like that was the purpose of the rules, the conservative regulations around sex, right? Like it was basically under marriage, and under marriage, like you had like a series of other responsibilities and stuff, and at that point you become an item, like you're inseparable. Okay. But since the sexual liberation, all of that went out the window, right? So the only thing that remains is consent. Like it's the only thing that remains. Like marriage is not important, vows aren't sacred. You can sleep around as much as you want. Like all of this is permissible, but the only thing that's left is consent. And the problem is that a lot of women aren't happy with this new rule, because what they end up happening is like you got a Chad that women like, and the Chad doesn't want to have relationships with them. He just wants one night stand, but the women want relationships. So like, what do? I mean, the woman consents for sex, but like the man doesn't consent for the relationship. So like, women are bitter because like they have all these Chads and they don't treat them in the way that they want to be treated, right? Because they want the romance, they want the relationship, they want all of this. But instead, Chad keeps doing the Leonardo DiCaprio thing. And the moment the lady is like 25, Chad goes for another lady that's 18, right? So like, perfectly legal, like he's not breaking any law, but the women are seething, right? Because if they were allowed to marry the Chad, he wouldn't be able to do that shit, right? Because again, like the conservative rules and normality was like, you're not allowed to cheat. Like 20 years ago, no one would have been upset. And by the way, in my country as well, probably. Like if Dr. Disrespect was talking with a lady that's legal in his state, right? So like where nothing illegal was done, like everything is legal. People in my country would have been upset about the fact that he's married with children, right? Like that would have been the main problem of concern. Now the main problem of concern is consent, right? Because America just, again, like gave away all of the other rules and regulations, all of the other things that were required in order for you to be a pillar of the community and a decent person. And they're only worried about consent. So basically, when women are upset that you have like a Leonardo DiCaprio who is getting girlfriends that are of the age of consent, but they're younger than him, and women are seething and they're like, oh my god, he's a pedophile. What they're basically saying is that he's a womanizer. That's what they're trying to say. Like that's what they're actually trying to imply. They're trying to imply that what Leonardo DiCaprio is doing is socially unacceptable because he doesn't settle down. He doesn't start a family and kids, and he's not faithful. But the problem is they can't articulate that because of the culture that we live, and because like they themselves were probably faithful when they were younger, right? Like when they were of the age of 18 to 25, they were also promiscuous. So they can't really attack promiscuity, but what they can attack is, oh, well, it's creepy for someone like Leonardo DiCaprio to date someone that's 20. And it's like, no, you're not upset about that. You're not upset about the age difference. You're upset that Leonardo DiCaprio isn't looking at you. And you're also upset of the fact that Leonardo DiCaprio is a womanizer. And that's what bothers you, right? It's the promiscuity aspect. Like, you want to be promiscuous, but you don't want the other gender to be promiscuous. So basically, like, this is how I can summarize what we're witnessing, right? Like, we're witnessing people that are envious, and they're criticizing the fact that society allows for promiscuity, but without articulating what they're actually criticizing. Anyway. In Scotland, sex crimes are to be juryless, and also a woman saying she is forced, even consensual, will mean corroboration. Oh my god. Yeah, like, this causes just distrust, like complete distrust between men and women. And women also have sons, and it takes like something that's close to home. I mean, there have been cases at the university, right, where the man got consent for the woman, and then the woman regretted giving consent, and she withdrew the consent, and she was basically trying to say, well, because I withdrew the consent, then it's rape. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like, imagine this in a business transaction. Holy shit, right? Imagine in a business transaction, like you buy a house, and everything is signed up for, and you make the loan from the bank, and now you moved into your new house, and everything is well and paid, and you just regret buying the house. So you're like, you know what? I was actually conned. It's like, how were you conned? Like, did you just sign the contract? Yeah, but I regret signing it now, so... You know, like wouldn't it be this interesting if it was like, when making a bank loan as well, to apply the same sex laws to the bank loan? So, like, you go to the bank, you make a loan, and then you go to the bank and you're like, you know what? I actually think I was coerced when I made the loan, so... Yeah, can I give you the loan back and we can just delete the contract? Oh, Mattress Girl is a national treasure, right? Like, Mattress Girl is definitely very interesting. It's a slow process of society making everything rational and desanctified. Yeah, pretty much. Man, it's the same shit with what I'm doing. You know, like I don't usually virtue signal. I don't usually judge what other people are doing because I know I don't live up to the expectations. I mean, I'm making, you know, a video game with cartoon characters, right? I, but what's interesting is that if I was a girl that could go on OnlyFans to show titty, it would have been a lot easier and get a lot less people outraged with that. They're like, how many leftists are seething because I have a game with cartoon characters in it? This is fucking mind baffling. I don't understand. But it is what it is, you know. There were even OnlyFans girls that were upset, and it's like, yeah, I understand. You know, you're doing real porn, and I'm doing drawings, and you feel like you can't compete. No, I get it, but like, at least be honest about this shit, you know. I would understand if like the person that goes to church and has like Christian values complains, like that is understandable. But when you have like people that you look through their profile and you see what they do for a job, you're like, are you really the one to criticize though? Glass houses and all that shit. Yeah, hack toi. Hack toi. By the way, speaking about Kumar games and shit, I understand that, you know, video games like Stellar Blade are completely haram, right? 2B also haram. So I'm like, okay, well, if these are the video games for the dorks, like for the nasty people, what are the doctors and the engineers watching, right? Like what is the established members of our society supposed to enjoy? And apparently, I was told about The Acolyte, so I'm going to give you some spoilers now. If you're a fan of the show The Acolyte, please leave the chat, alright? We're going to give you spoilers. And apparently the guy heals the lady, lays a cloak on her, and then caresses her arm while the Kylo Ren motif plays in the background, right? And this is like the writer wanting you to ship them. Now, the problem with this is that the guy, before this, I think like murders her sister and then slashes down many of her friends and family. And then because, I mean, he does this creepy thing where he like puts a blanket over her and caresses her arm, we're supposed to ship them. Like this is the type of relationship, you know, like the people that judge you for watching Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out are like. Right? I'm sorry. I'm not saying that they shouldn't like this type of fantasy. Like if this is the type of erotica you want, you know, again, this dude literally killed her childhood friend by snapping his neck and put 3 holes in her other friend who liked her a lot, right? And there's so many people now that, oh my god, I want to ship them. Like you want to ship the main character of the story with a serial killer. Alright. No, it's fine. It's fine. No, if that's your fantasy, alright, maybe there's other people that will judge you, but I won't. It's fantasy, it's fine. But the fact that you go around and you judge other people is what I have a problem with. It's like, if you are engaging into this level of shit, and you go around, it's like, oh my god, you're watching Uzaki-chan, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I want to hear a fucking word. Not a peep. The blaming of one, the blaming of two, the blaming of bigots. He also short-circuited the lightsaber by headbutting it with his helmet on. No, I'm not even gonna. You know, like the way I write shit for my smoothie game, okay? Like, I write stuff for a game that wouldn't even need a story. Like, a lot of people say it should be just the visual. No. I'm a storyteller. I will write story. When I write stories, I'm like, alright, well, would it make sense for this character to do this? Does the character have the ability to do this? How did we decide that this thing works? You know, it's kind of like that. But for modern writers, the ones that are writing for doctors and engineers, they're like, is it cool? Yeah, put it in. Yeah, but it doesn't fit. No, that doesn't matter. Put it in. Is it gay? Yes. You know, it's like South Park. You know, just make a chick. Just take a chick, make her gay, and put her in. You know, it's kind of like that. Yeah, it's also that they're Cougars, but like they have different tastes, and I find their taste bizarre, and they probably find my taste peculiar. But I can live with their taste. They can't live with ours. You know, it's like, and ours are heteronormativity, by the way. If you happen to have a girl with big titty, they can't suffer that. It's like, oh yeah, cutting hair using lightsaber. That was also, you got like a lightsaber that can cut through solid beam doors, right? Like through a blast door. But it can cut hair without setting your hair on fire. It's the magic of Disney, I guess. Would it make sense that Leia floats like Mary Poppins? Actually, yes. No, unironically, the Leia Mary Poppins thing, while looking cringe, I think it can work, right? Because the Force has shown to have the ability to push, pull, jump higher and shit. So I guess like she can use the Force to pull herself closer to the spaceship. Like that, no, unironically, that can make sense. It looks cringe. I wouldn't have it in. But looking at all the abilities Jedis have, I say that is possible. Like that is in the realm of possibility. Using the Force to reach out to the spaceship and pull yourself towards it, okay, fine. Can she survive the vacuum of space? I mean, if there's a Jedi ability to create a shield around yourself, right? Like you have like a small shield that prevents you from getting damaged by the okay. Yeah, no, like ironically, that is less retarded than having a lightsaber slash up your hair. That actually, no, it can happen. No, it's the correct opinion because it is cringe. But I'm saying like within the lore, it is possible, right? So it is achievable from the point of view of the universe. Floating is fine, but surviving the vacuum of space and no. Like, look. There have been Jedis that survive worse shit, right? So we can assume that using the Force gives you like different abilities than normal people. Like that's also possible. I mean, Darth Maul survives the fall by being sliced in half. Luke survives jumping off a bridge with his arm sliced off. Like that's fine. Okay, yes, sure. Nothing survives in space, period. I mean, she did require medical treatment right after, so there's that. Anyway, I gotta go. I'm going to play with Sargon. He's got like a new tabletop game, which we're trying, and if it's working, I'll announce it. Like, hopefully, we're going to set it up, have a good time, and then we can announce it and play it on a stream. So